Hi, my name is Leah J with the Free Motion Quilting Project, and this is my studio tour. I felt a little uncomfortable about shooting my studio for a while, and I realized that I was kind of making it a bigger deal than what it needed to be, mostly because no studio is perfect, no sewing space is perfect. My floors are original to the house, they're ugly, I haven't had the money to fix it yet, but it's going to be something that I do down the road. And so my studio is constantly changing, it's constantly being improved, and that's the thing I really want you to understand and know about the studio tour. So let me talk you through, this has already changed a little bit. I went to IKEA and found this really cool thing. It is like a piece of thick wire, and then it has these packs of clips that you hang from it, and you can do photos, but I decided to hang little squares of my quilting, and then some spindles because I've been hand spinning. I also found these at IKEA, and they're really perfect for showcasing some simple quilting. I don't do a lot of using my space for decoration, but this one particular spot in the house is kind of visible. It's kind of in this weird area in the hallway, and I wanted it to look nice. I didn't want it to get all junky. Of course, sewing machine can't really make it look a ton better, but I can make it look more functional. I can make it work better. And so here's one thing that I've added. This is just a door a handle to a kitchen door that I've screwed through the Gidget 2. This is the Gidget 1 actually. And I've just screwed that in and attached it. This perfectly fits. These are IKEA cups. And then this is a little IKEA hook. And this can be found in the kid department. So all of this is kind of IKEA, but it's really functional. It has helped make this area a lot better. For this bin, I would throw thread scraps in here, anything that's kind of junky if I didn't have my trash can nearby. For here, pens or anything big, I might even throw my drink in there if I needed to. But right now it's just holding some scissors. This little extra shelf has been really nice, because a lot of stuff seemed to want to fall off the side of the table. It was, again, getting kind of junky, and so this kind of helped it organize it just a little bit better. Now this is the kitchen of my basement. You can see the kitchen here, and this is in planning to be ripped out and replaced. I actually want to put in a window about right here on this wall. But that's really something that's going to happen in a couple years, a couple months, couple years, who knows. And so pretty much I've just tried to make the best of these cabinets. I don't have a lot of stuff in them simply because I don't have to move it whenever they get ripped out. And I'm really bad about junking up the countertops. I haven't figured out a way of stopping that. It's just so easy to junk stuff up there. Here I've got, that's the door to my laundry room, and I'm using a over-the-door shoe organizer to hold a lot of scraps. Now I've rearranged this area just a little bit. I built this built-in cabinet. You can see how it kind of fits into the ceiling, kind of fitted into this odd area that was left really weird by the builders of the house. And so I filled it up with these baskets, and I realized at the top that the basket really wasn't working because it was too tall to kind of dig in my hand in to get the basket. So I took the basket out and replaced it with all of my AccuQuilt dies, and that works really well because, as you can see, I can see the die just like that, know which one I'm picking and choosing from, and the big long dies didn't have that, so I just wrote their names right there. So that was really kind of nice. Here I've got all my stabilizer and freezer paper organized. It's easy to pull out, easy to dig through. This kind of stuff is really never going to be great looking. It's never going to be super functional, but at least it can be put all together. This is something I've done that's new. I got one of these multi-folder storage things, and I've put everything that's kind of that 8.5 by 11 size. Steam-a-seam, fusible, wash-away sheets, all that kind of stuff. Solvay, paper stabilizers, all that kind of stuff is all organized in there. And so if I'm looking for something small like that, I know all I have to do is go there, I'll find it. Just a little digging. This is a design wall. This is a pretty small wall, height-wise. Hopefully you can see the low ceilings in here have made a lot of things kind of tricky, and it makes the lighting really tricky. It was always rather dim, and that's why I installed the fluorescent lights above, and that's really improved the lighting a considerable amount. but really no shelving would really work with how big the tables are. So I just decided to use this wall as a design wall and put up some polystyrene foam, some foam boards. It's just called insulation sheeting. And then I covered that with some flannel. And that has made a perfect design wall. And you can see I'm in progress of designing a quilt. And so stitching out different samples, trying different fillers, testing the effects. And it's really nice to be able to step back from it and see the effect it's going to have from a good 10 to 15 feet away, because that's really where you're going to be looking at your quilt from. You're really not going to be looking at it straight up. I've also put my speakers up here and a lot of different things that kept really getting junky all over the table. And instead it's all up here, and that's really nice. I do have some freestanding ironing boards. These are pressing boards made out of plywood. And so whenever I need to press, I put them up right here. And then my iron is set right there, so that way I can easily press the fabric. And then right here is a cutting mat, and that's pretty big, but I can move it off the table if I need to. So it's one of those things where it's really nice to be able to press here and cut here, and use these big tables for what they're meant for. You know, that's what they're meant for, is a lot of pressing and cutting and keeping all of this junk. And it doesn't look great, but you know, it is functional. Keeping all this junk off the tables and up on the shelves. So let's go into the quilting sewing room area next. And you can see this is how I decided to improve this area. This is what I posted about in a sewing room organization post about a drawer system. And so I've ordered the Super Satchel Cubes. I've ordered 3 sets from Walmart. And so those are coming, but I did go to IKEA and pick up one Alex. That's the white cabinet right there. I've also reorganized the top shelves, which were a little junky and really not very well set up. And in those white binders, I've actually organized all my sewing patterns. And so let me just pull out this one, and I've also included the little labels so that way I know exactly what's in there. So I've just used these sheet protectors to place the sewing patterns within and put them in the binder, and that is working out so nicely because I can just thumb through it, find the pattern I want, pull it out, and get started sewing. Over here, I've of course organized some thread, but one thing that kind of surprised me, moving this cabinet in place, I suddenly felt awkward about keeping my bobbins up on that bobbin stand where they used to be. So here's the Janome Horizon. I'd easily reach up and grab bobbins. Well, now that doesn't feel quite so easy anymore, so I've decided to move them in here. And these are the Clover bobbin organizers, and it's really nice that they come in 2 different colors. I realized that because I'm going to keep polyester thread isocord on the lighter ones and Arfil cotton thread on the green ones, on the dark ones. So that's really nice because you can then split up your thread. It's good to have all of one thing in one drawer so you know where it's going to be. And one thing that's helped a lot is using these. They are an IKEA like rubber organizer. You can find that in the office section, and that was really helpful. So that's organized all my sewing needles, all my zippers, all that kind of miscellaneous sewing stuff. And again, another rubber organizer, and this one has buttons and looks like some different decorative things in here. So that is how I organize those drawers, and that's been very effective. Over here, I had a really saggy, droopy bar, and I replaced that with an IKEA bar. It's holding up much better now, and all my decorative threads are up and really pretty. Nice to see. I like to see things that are bright and colorful and cheerful. It inspires me to quilt. I have some batting up here and more batting. Nice batting collection under here. I do believe in having enough batting so that if you decide to make a quilt in an evening, you don't have to run out and grab batting or wait to get batting the next day. Now, I admit I struggled to organize the drawers in this cabinet for quite some time, and they were quite tricky because they're pretty narrow, but they're also fairly deep. And so here I put my the foot organizer from the Bernina 1230, and then I found this tin. It was just a juicy fruit candy tin from Christmas, and ripped the top off of it and stuck it in there, and that's holding all my empty bobbins. And then I think this is a wooden like box from Walmart, and this is a, you know, some kind of plastic organizer. I think this is in the office department of Walmart too. So, you know, it's a lot of different things from different places, but they fit together perfectly. That was a little bit of a struggle, but it still worked. Here I'm using one of those rubber organizers from IKEA and more of the plastic bins and tins to kind of keep things still a little bit more organized than I can get with the rubber. So a lot of different things in there. And it's really nice too. You know, again, I know all of my refills and Soline pencils and all that kind of stuff is going to be in one drawer. I know all of my needles, all of my pens, all that kind of stuff is going to be in another drawer. It's really important to do it that way, so that way, you know, this is like miscellaneous feet and that kind of thing. You're always going to end up with a lot of miscellaneous stuff, and that's okay. So directly behind this is my fabric collection, and it's all hanging up on hangers. And you know, it really just depends on what kind of collection you have, whether you can do this or not. I do keep the smaller pieces, like fat quarters and stuff, in the drawers, and this works okay. In the bins, these are UFOs, and so I have a very good visual guide for my UFOs. I know exactly how many I have, so I can't ignore them, and they're always staring at me and shouting at me, so I know I have to go in there and empty a bin, or at least try to empty a bin every couple of months. But one struggle I've always had in here too has been lighting, and so these lights are actually plug-in lights, just plug-in lights you can chain together. I think I got those from Lowe's. And so against this wall is my bigger design wall, and whenever I need to block a quilt, I just take that batik fabric off the front of it, pull the boards down onto this floor, and I have enough room to block a fairly large quilt, and so that works out. It's not something I like to do very often because of course it requires a lot of moving things around, and it's a little tricky, but it works. So that's it for this studio tour. I really hope that you've enjoyed wandering through my studio with me today and seeing all the nooks and crannies and all the things that I have modified in order to make it work really well. I really encourage you not to be afraid of picking up a drill and making modifications yourself. Putting together furniture, hanging a set of shelves, all these things are important for getting the studio you want. And it's not something you really want to go nagging your partner to do all the time. I know if I was nagging Josh to hang shelves for me as much as I wanted them hung, he would probably have divorced me 10 years ago. So it's not something that you can really expect someone else to do for you. It's something that you should do for yourself. And really, it's very empowering. That's the thing I like about it the most, is every time I pull out the drill and tape measure, I feel empowered to make a positive change in my life. And no, not every area of your studio, of your sewing room, is going to look good. That's just a simple fact that I've accepted and understood. It's always going to be a changing process. At no point am I ever going to step back and say, oh, it's all done. You know, I've got it in the bag. This is perfect. Because it never is perfect. There's always going to be places and things that you're changing because you are changing as a quilter, as a crafter. You might suddenly want to get into something new. You know, I surprised myself wanting to get into spinning, and I've had to find ways of fitting that into the studio because there's only a finite amount of space for anyone, no matter whether you're quilting in a closet or you're quilting across a kitchen and a bedroom. So I hope this has helped you, and I hope that you will try out some of these ideas and post suggestions of your own. Until next time, let's go quilt.